setup of our speaker today, who I met last fall, just wandering the halls in regular clothes, looking for a class to sit on. That's what you guys might do someday too, when you come back to your alma mater and you're our age and you think, oh, I just love to go sit in on a class. And so we also invited him afterwards to sit at a teaching circle that we have once a week. A group of us just talk about teaching ideas. And then we figured out he kind of knew some stuff. And so you guys saw a little bit about him that I had emailed you. When I first met him, I did realize that he had good emotional intelligence. And so I've kind of been keyed in on that this semester, and so I looked at that, and he's just a very personable, down-to-earth guy. I really would have had no idea how much he had accomplished. And usually when you would give people kind of a preamble to what they're going to say, they would want you to talk about all of that. But that really, I don't think he would care that I do that. And so he'd be more like, well, why did you want him to talk about this topic in your class? So that's kind of more of what I am going to do today, and that's why I picked EI. I did read a book that he wrote, and I read it through the lens of emotional intelligence. I'm going to get him to sign it before he leaves too. And then I realized I had picked the right topic, because his emotional intelligence literally has saved lives, whether it was something on the battlefield or figuring out which government to temporarily operate a city and kind of trusting on sometimes his gut reactions. All of the stuff we've learned about nonverbal in there, or then after he was in the Pentagon having to try and really still fight for his soldiers while he was doing those, I realized he has an overabundance of emotional intelligence. And they had told us when we visited Leavenworth. When I say Leavenworth, what do you think of? Prison, yeah. They have like a wonderful war college there, like world class. Like the people who've been through there have pictures on the walls you'd be amazed at. But once we spent the day there, I realized, and they talked about, they don't just look for soldiers anymore that just will blindly do like what they say. They have to have emotional intelligence and understand, like, this is what we're going for, this is what we want to do. Sometimes you have to use your own judgment as far as how to get that done. So in the book, there were lots of examples of really just how he has used that. And he also had me read a book about emotional intelligence. That's one of the kind of recaps I put in front of you. And I realized we've done a lot of that like piecemeal, but we haven't put it all together like I think he can kind of do for today. One of the things that I really, in the book, and I want him to talk about is, if the first step is like acknowledging your feelings while you're having them, like that seems hard to me. And so in your book, a lot of times, like you're doing something and you had all these feelings. Sometimes they were like contrasting emotions, and I'm like, how in the, like, when did you know that you had those? And how did you kind of deal with some of those different emotions as you are going through that? So that was one of the things that really intrigued me. And I think that probably emotional intelligence is like at the heart of success. So do you want them to ask you questions as they go? I think let you get kind of started on what you're going to say. And then if you have a burning question, you'll just do it. But let me welcome General Chris Hughes today.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Hey, you got the percentages. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
75%, you're sitting in the front row. That's pretty impressive. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity. I was wandering through here because I like to go see all the classes that I flunked when I was here, so I can kind of snub my nose at the door and realize that I did finally eventually get out here. I graduated in 1983 from this school, and I've been in the United States Army ever since. I left here as a second lieutenant, and today I'm a two-star general in the United States Army. Currently today I'm responsible for producing 75% of all the officers in the United States Army, which is 5,500 officers per year from 986 universities across the country. I have 8,000 people who do that for me at those different universities. I have a staff of about 5,000. I have a junior ROTC program with a staff of about 10,000, and I'm responsible for the lives of 350,000 cadets, high school and college. Of my 30,600 college students across the country in all 50 states, 4 territories, and 4 foreign countries, I produce about 5,500 officers a year to feed the United States Army. The United States Army needs 180,000 soldiers a year to fill its ranks with a volunteer force. Of 180,000, an additional 5,500 officers, which is the corporate level of the United States Army, if you don't understand the difference between a private in the Army and a lieutenant. And that's what we produce. And so a part of that production line of what my organization does out of Fort Knox, Kentucky, the Army gives me a little over $1 billion to run that part of the enterprise. I also run a city. I have a city called Fort Knox, Kentucky, which has another 46,000 residents. There's about 86,000 community folks that use the installation. We train Special Operations Command, everything from the United States Special Operations Command, Joint Special Operations Command, everything down to basic training to cadet summer training is all conducted there. And that's another $800 million a year enterprise. The funnest thing I get to do is go out to universities and talk about what we do, because I'm also the largest grantor of college scholarships of any entity in the United States, arguably the world. So I have a purse of about $300 million a year that we give out to give our cadets, so those who earn scholarships, to get their books, fees, and tuition, room and board free to go to universities, everything from Harvard to Missouri Western, just down the road. Okay, which I still can't figure out why the ROTC program moved from here to there, but that's a whole different debate. So why is all that important? It's important because I used to sit right there. Okay, and I was nobody special. I was nobody at the top of the class. I was just somebody who really wanted to try hard. And the Army was my road, probably won't be your road, but there are a lot of similarities. What I learned working on my degree here in business and accounting and economics and the things that I took here that have done wonders for me. And eventually, as your instructors will tell you, you may think you'll never use some of this stuff, but all of a sudden someday you're standing out there and I'm out there trying to figure out the denominator in Afghanistan for an equation. And just the fact that I was the only person in the group that knew what a denominator was won the day. Okay, and your instructor is right. I have stood up 8 governments in the world. I have negotiated billion-dollar, trillion-dollar enterprises. I've advised 8 presidents. I worked with Congress for 2 years on Capitol Hill as the Army liaison to Congress. 11 years in the Pentagon. Pretty much everything you could possibly want to do. Visited 92 nations. 6 of them didn't ask me to come in, but we invaded them anyway. So, been around the world seeing a few things. So having said all that, why talk to you about emotional intelligence? Why talk to you about the power of personality? Why is it important for you in this profession, if you're going to be a business person, why it is you have to understand emotions, why you have to understand how to deal with those emotions, and how to be empathetic and understand the emotions of those you lead. Now, I know you got the handout, you've seen the 4 domains of emotional intelligence, but what I'd like to do is, if you will humor me, I'd like to do a little exercise here and see what happens, because I want to get to know you first. So I understand you've all taken Myers-Briggs, is that right? Okay. I want to talk about just one element of Myers-Briggs, and that is the introvert-extrovert differential. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to break into introverts and extroverts. And so if you would, I would like all the introverts in these 2 rows and all the extroverts in these 2 rows. Can you go ahead and move, please?
He is extrovert. And I know a lot of you said you were like close on the 2, but
Pick, you got to pick.
yeah.
Pick a side. Choose a side. Introverts on this side. That's the I.
No.
And he's on this side.
We're switching over the day. Extroverts?
Wow. So you guys are all, really, you guys are,
I'll give you the answer.
everybody up from here over, you're extroverts? You're all extroverts? Supposedly. Okay, well, if at any point when we're doing this, you feel like you're sitting on the wrong side, just pack up your stuff and move to the other side. Okay, because this is about understanding who you are. Well, while we try to talk about who you are in this discussion, because self-awareness is, no kidding, a force multiplier in anything that you do. Relationships, dating, college, trying to get an A out of her when she's not cooperating, you know. You got to know who you are. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. And you have to begin to use those same skills of understanding who you are to figure out who other people are. Because if you can't do both, then you will fail. There's an old saying, this guy named Sun Tzu, he talks about war. And he says, know yourself and know your enemy, and 1,000 battles you'll see no loss. Know yourself and not your enemy, and you'll fail 50% of the time. Don't know yourself, don't know your enemy, and you're doomed to failure. So you can't fight somebody if you don't know who you are and what you're capable of, and if you don't know what they're capable of, because you will get beat. Same is true in life. It's true in your personality and relationships. Now, first off, I want to caveat with neither personality type is superior. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. They're just different. Okay? Now, introverts, we all say you're quiet and you're shy and you don't talk out very loud. Your communication skills are whispery level, and that's not true. And we'll talk about that. You guys are overly confident. You talk a lot. In fact, you talk a lot to the point where you miss out the solution that sits right here with the answer because you won't shut up long enough to listen. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to test and see what you really are. I still can't believe you're 75% because of your nonverbals. All right, so first, you guys over here got to know something. These people will rule the business world, and they will fire you unless you learn some skills that they have. Okay? You guys will never get through an interview unless you learn some of their skills. Okay? Statistically, in the business world, in numbers as high as 80% CEOs are introverts. 80%. But because they've learned their skills of being able to be confident, be able to speak up, and be able to articulate vision and goals and ideas to their subordinates. Okay? Because you can be autocratic and still be liked. Most people don't think that. So don't take either side as right or wrong. Let's just talk about the differences. So, introverts, here's your mission. You guys get together very quickly. I'm going to give you about 1 minute, and I want you to pick the most introverted person in this group, single them out to me, so I can bring them up front here in front of everybody and ask them a few questions, okay? So you guys go ahead. At the same time, extroverts, you cannot say anything. You cannot provide any input. The only thing you're allowed to do right now is break out a piece of paper and a pencil and watch these people, because I'm going to ask you for observations here in just a few minutes. Okay, 1 minute starts now.
In my binder, is that?
There's some key things happening right now. I hope you're catching them. Listen to what they're doing. Now we're all staring at you. Remember, it's only an hour and 45-minute class. 30 seconds.
Who hasn't talked yet? Yeah. Who hasn't talked yet? I feel like you haven't talked. Oh, really?
Okay, time. Who is it?
Brock.
Ouch.
I don't know.
All right, Brock, come on up front.
Sorry, Brock.
Made a fool out of myself before. I will do it again.
Brock, I don't know why you think you can make a fool out of yourself. You can't fail. You cannot fail. Hide behind that. Come right out here. I want everybody to see your full exposed body. Okay, so you guys have been together for what, 2 months? Is that about right? Is that how long you had class? 2 months? And we were talking about this on the way down here. My wife is an INTJ and I'm an ENFP. I don't ever remember knowing anybody well enough in class to pick out somebody like that. Okay, but the extroverts, did they pick the right person? According to you, based on your observations in this class, can you tell me whether or not this is the most introverted person in this class? You're saying no, you can't tell, or no, he's not?
I don't think so.
You don't think he's the right guy? Who else doesn't think he's the right guy? Oh, well, why the heck don't you guys respond? Come on, this is college, right? This isn't high school where you're all sitting there, sitting on your hands and scared you can get in trouble. I got money, here, here's some money. So you guys don't think he's the absolute most introverted guy in the group, okay? Is he the most introverted guy in the group? Introverts? You picked him. That was the instruction. Did you not go by the instructions? Or did you just pick somebody you thought could possibly do it? You picked him. Why did you pick him?
Because I work with him.
You work with him, so you know he's introverted.
Yeah.
Is he more introverted than her, sitting all over by the window?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, well, let me just ask you a simple question. Why didn't you pick up your Myers-Briggs test and check the percentages of introversion to see who was the most introverted?
I'm not sure everybody had that on them.
Yeah? You're 75%. I don't think I've ever met somebody that introverted, but you talk a lot. I think you cheated. Is he the most introverted guy? Ladies and gentlemen over here on this side, who's the most introverted? You know who you are. Who is it? You won't tell me, will you? All right, you guys pick him. Who is it? Or her? Better yet, they punked you. Why don't you pick him?
Oh, man.
No?
I'll abstain.
You abstain? Anybody over there want to pick a person over there who thinks more introverted? You said he wasn't introverted. You did. You said he was not the most introverted one, so someone over there must be more introverted in your opinion. Pick him out.
The reason I don't think so is just because I've heard him talk and I've
Okay.
interacted with him.
I'm talking about him anymore. Who over
So
there?
I know who he is kind of, but I don't know everybody over there.
Make a guess. Intuitive guess. Which one's the most introverted? Based on your observations in class.
I've never heard the two guys in the back talk.
The two guys. You mean the two males right there?
Uh-huh.
The two are staring at each other? All right. Who wants one of those two guys to go? Raise your hand. Come on, pick them out. You guys got it. You guys got to take action. Take action. No action? The man in the corner. But there's no corner. They're sitting by a flat wall. The girl in the corner. Are you the most introverted? You know if you are. Come on.
I mean, I
It won't hurt.
think
Come up.
so, but
Come on up. I'm going to pick this as the most. Lazy. I think half of you guys are introverts over here and you're not me. Go ahead, sit down. All right, come on up here. What's your name?
Tanya.
Tanya. Tanya, have you ever had a full-time job before?
No, I have not.
You've never had a full-time job before. Have you ever had a boss of any kind before?
Yes.
What kind of a boss? Explain it to us.
I mean, well, like I would count a coach as a boss.
No, that's.
No?
No.
Well, I mean, I've had a part-time job.
Okay.
Does that work?
You had a boss?
Yes.
Okay, so you have had a job, you have had a boss.
Yes.
Okay, how important was that job to you?
I mean, important. I needed the money.
Yeah, you needed the money. Okay, what you did in that job, what the outcome was from what you did, was it important?
I mean, no, not really.
No, you didn't have any vested interest in the outcome of that organization. You just needed the money. So you just marked your time. How about the rest of you? Any of you here had a job you were passionate about and had a boss and you were curious about feedback from that boss? Did you? What was that job?
My dad was the boss. So.
Your dad was the boss. Wow, okay, you come on up here instead. You can go sit down. This is a good one. We got a familial one here. All right, so do me a favor. Tell everybody who you are and what your job was.
I'm Audrey. Worked at a pizza restaurant. I was a waitress. My dad is the owner. So.
Okay, so Pizza Hut. And how long have you done that, or how long did you do that?
Well, actually, it's called Polly's Pizza. So.
Oh, you're Polly. Really?
Well, not the one
Not
here.
this one?
It's
Okay.
privately owned, so yeah, it's different. But my dad's owned it for, I don't know, like 35 years.
Okay, and so how long did you work there?
I worked there for 5 years.
5 years. And so you had interest in the outcome that the business did well?
Yeah.
Okay. Answer this question then for me. How long could you go with zero feedback? Now, not just at that particular job, but you as a person, from an adult figure, a teacher, a boss, how long can you go with zero feedback from your boss in terms of how you're doing, good or bad?
Probably not very long.
Okay, well, how long is not very long? Give me a time frame.
I don't know, a month or a couple months maybe.
Couple of months. So you could go a couple of months not knowing how you're doing.
No.
No? Okay, change your mind. How long could you go? Just give us a time frame. There's no wrong answer.
Like 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. Who over here can go 3 weeks? Raise your hand. You can go 3 weeks? You on the right side? You sure you're on the right side?
I don't know.
You don't know. I'll bet you go longer than that. That's okay. Who can go longer than 3 weeks on this side of the room? With zero feedback, knowing how you're doing, either in college or in a job. Can any of you go that long? Okay, you two might want to consider moving. You don't have to, but you might want to consider it. So you go 3 weeks. Who over here could go longer than 3 weeks? Maybe. Can you do it or not? I mean, if you just kept coming to this class and you weren't getting any grades, would you be okay? I mean, she smiles every day she comes in, she sits down, she doesn't call on you, you're getting no feedback. Are you doing okay, or are you in trouble? How about you? You doing okay, or are you in trouble? She doesn't give you any feedback.
I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble. Okay, after 3 weeks. But up to 3 weeks, you don't care.
I might be a little worried, but I
Okay.
don't say anything about it.
Who over here would be worried if you hadn't heard anything in 3 weeks? Raise your hands up so I can see who you really are. Okay. Who could go a week or less? Raise your hand. So, okay, so you need feedback. After a week, you're going to start getting anxious.
Yeah.
Okay, who gets anxious after 3 days? 3 days. Who gets anxious after a day? You just turned in a paper, you just sent an email, so after a day. Come on up here, will you? It's all right. You won't get in trouble. All right. So why don't you go sit down? You're only 3 weeks. Come on up here, 75%. Who won't answer my question? Maybe if you're up here, you'll answer them. Okay, so if you don't get feedback, let me ask you this question. Does this make sense to you? No news is good news. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Tell these guys what that means to you.
Well, if you're doing something wrong, you'll be told about it.
Ah, okay. So in other words, as long as you go and somebody's not giving you negative feedback, then you're doing great.
Yes.
Okay? Do you agree to that?
No,
Why not?
because I like immediate feedback.
Okay.
So that I don't do it again.
Okay. So,
Like last week we gave a speech, and the second I got done with my speech, I texted somebody like, I don't think that went well, and was kind of freaking out about my grade the whole time until I heard back about it.
okay, so let's say you gave that speech, she was watching you, a day goes by, you texted her and said, I don't think it went well, how do you think it went?
Text my teacher?
Yeah,
Oh,
and you don't get a response, what do you think that means?
I mean, I would be probably looking at my phone waiting for the text.
So you're
all day.
staring at the phone.
I mean, I would keep it on loud, yeah.
So let's assume you both gave the same speech. At the end of the speech, did you text your teacher to see how you did?
No.
No? And you texted her to see how you did, and you're hearing nothing for a day, which you think means is you're doing just fine, and you are starting to freak out.
Yeah.
Okay? So why don't you guys go ahead and sit down. Give these guys a hand real quick. So you give the speech. Okay? So you gave the speech, you heard nothing in a day. What's your first feeling? How are you feeling if you have heard nothing back?
I'm thinking what I felt went wrong.
Okay, so something went wrong. Let's say 2 days go by. What happens then? Well, how are you feeling after 2 days? She hasn't responded in 2 days. Normally she responds like that when you send her a text.
I mean, I usually just keep thinking about it until I get the feedback.
But how do you feel? First day must have gone bad. Second day, how do you feel?
Probably frustrated.
Okay, now you're getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys agree? Disagree? Anybody feel differently after 2 days?
Anxiety.
You're starting to get anxious. Okay, so you're starting to get upset. So first day is must be bad. Second day is I feel anxious. Okay, what happens after 2 weeks? Where are you at now after 2 weeks? You have heard nothing from her. And you've sent follow-up texts and you've heard nothing from her.
I'll probably find a way to like go see her.
You're going to find a way. You're
Yeah.
going to cut across campus.
Probably
You'll see her
before 2
walk
weeks.
into her car, and you're going to cut across, and you're going to go, hey, Zin, you're going to do one of these
Follow
things?
her home.
How are you doing? So
Well,
you're-
think of our resume thing, how frustrated you were when, like, that wasn't going right.
So
you're
now you-
onto something.
That's right, you become a star.
Yeah.
Okay? And so you see her, you have a long, great conversation, and then she says nothing about your speech and just goes to her car, gets in, and drives away. Now how do you feel?
I don't know.
I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Are you starting to really, I mean, at any point, it's all about you right now. You are upset. At some point, does it become about her? Do you start thinking she's a bad teacher? You start thinking she doesn't like you? Do your feelings turn weird like that?
No.
They don't? Okay, you haven't gone through this that long, have you?
I mean, I don't like think of them like poorly. I just think like, oh, it's a 3-minute speech. It can't take that long to grade.
So now she's just incompetent.
I'm sure she had grades back. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
We got
But
it
you-
back pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
well,
I was just
but in this scenario, you didn't get them back. How do you feel at this point?
not good.
You don't feel good. I mean,
Not feeling
is
good,
it,
no.
whose fault is it? I mean, you've started this downward spiral as a human being. Okay? You guys on this side of the room, when you don't get feedback, okay, you start to spiral. You know, I've had bosses. I had a boss just down Fort Leavenworth, which, by the way, is not a prison, just so you know, whoever said prison. It is the Army University. It is the center of all intellectual capacity for the United States Army. But I had a boss, and I sent him 26 emails. These were some of the most profound, brilliant emails in the history of mankind. At least in my opinion, they were. I said, sir, we should do this, we should do that, we should do this. And he traveled all over the world, and he never responded. 2 months go by, 26 emails. I can't stand it. They've taken live ammunition away from me. I've been pulled off the roof 3 times. I'm about to jump. And I finally go over and I'm going to talk to this guy. So I push into his office. He's in there, and I said, sir, I said, 26 emails, brilliant ideas. What the heck? And he said, yeah, that's great stuff. How's it going? I go, it's not going. Nothing's going. I put please advise at the bottom of each email. You never responded. So I went through anxiety. First, he doesn't like me, or it was a bad idea. Okay, now he's going to fire me. Holy crap, I'm trying to hunt him down and find him. Now I'm starting to think he's a bad person because he hasn't responded to me. And guess what he said when I said, sure, what about these 26 emails? You never responded. He said, Chris, no news is good news. If you don't hear from me, that means you're doing great. Just keep running. And when you screw up, I'll let you know. Now that to me sounds like no news is bad news because he's going to let me know when I'm screwing up. So I'm constantly anxious, worrying about when I'm going to get that call. And I said, sir, it doesn't work for me. This is something you extroverts have to learn. You have to tell them, that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me because I am crashing and going through this emotional roller coaster, and you're over there thinking no news is good news, and I'm your best guy in your organization. And what happens in the organization is all the continuity starts to break down because of a simple misunderstanding of an introvert and an extrovert. You don't need feedback. It's nice. It's okay to get once in a while, but gee whiz, don't keep coming up to me and tell me how great I am because then it becomes insincere. You, on the other hand, got to know how you're doing. And every time I give you a shot of feedback, you take off. That's what your personality does. And what's going to happen is these are going to be the bosses, and you are going to be the worker bees. And if you can't work through that, what's going to happen is you're going to be miserable in your organization. And when you're leading an organization, you're going to be the ones making your whole organization fail, no matter how smart or how detailed or how perfect you are. There's many examples of where you will come down to her office, she'll give you a presentation, and you'll go, hey, and you just go, thank you very much. And you'll get up and you'll leave. And as you're walking down the hallway providing her no feedback, she's going to go, what a bitch. And you're walking down the hallway going, that's my best guy. You see what I'm talking about? It's as simple as understanding the differences between the two personality types. And in business, it's all about relationships. Who in here thinks the phrase, it's not what you know, but who you know, is a bad phrase? Raise your hands. Do you think that's bad?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of? Do you think that's a good thing? It's not what you know, it's who you know?
I guess it could depend on the scenario.
Depends on the scenario. Okay, well, let's talk about different scenarios then real quick. Is it a good thing or a bad thing when I say, wow, this new green pen he got is the cat's ass? Who thinks that's a good thing? Raise your hand. Okay, who thinks it's a good thing? You think it's a good thing? Okay. Now, if I said, now this new pen is the cat's meow, would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Well, you guys are quiet. I don't have enough money to keep giving people $10. I gave you 10. You haven't helped me at all.
I would say like the cat's purr.
The cat's purr. Okay, is that what you say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the cat's purr, if I said this is the cat's purr, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But people from the Northeast say this is the cat's ass.
I don't think that's a good thing.
I can't imagine why it's good either. But they'll tell you it's a good thing.
Well, don't they say it's kick-ass?
No, you say that. No, they say it's a cat's ass. Let me ask you another one. So if you were having a beer and you were in Georgia and you were at somebody's house and you were in there drinking a beer and 3 people ran in and say, hey, come on, let's go out back. We're cornholing and drinking beer. And then they ran back outside. Would you go with them or not?
Yeah.
You would? Okay. My generation, what do you think I would think that means? I would say, no, thank you. You guys do whatever it is you want to do back there. It's none of my business. What's cornholing mean in Iowa? Anybody from Iowa? What's cornholing mean in Iowa? You know what it is. You're just not going to say it.
I mean, I just know it's a bad game.
Yeah, okay. You know the game. You guys all generationally know the game. People our age think, oh my God, cornhole when I grew up meant somebody was going to take you out in a cornfield and rape you.
I don't live on.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. All right, let me ask you this. Who in here thinks, oh my God, what's your name?
Right.
Ryan has drank the Kool-Aid. Good thing or bad thing?
Bad.
Okay, who says it's bad? Raise your hands. All right, who says it's good? Nobody. The rest of you are just going to abstain. The entire introverted crowd over here is analyzing the phrase. Let me know when you're ready. You're going to have to vote. Good thing or bad thing?
Bad.
Bad.
That.
Oh, just because he said bad.
No, I raised my hand.
You raised your, was that what that was? I thought that was, that was some sort of reaction to a fly.
No, that's a
All right, so why is it a bad thing?
I mean,
You don't know. But you think it's a bad thing. Why is it a bad thing? Do you think it's a bad thing? No? You don't think it's a bad thing. You think it's a good thing.
Well, the way you said it made it sound bad.
The way I said it, I just said, hey, she drank the Kool-Aid.
No, that's not bad.
That's not bad. You think it's bad? Why is it bad? What does it mean?
Jim Jones. is like
Jim
a whole
Jones.
thing.
Who? Everybody know who Jim Jones was? Tell them who Jim Jones was.
He was this crazy guy that took a bunch of people to some place in South America and they poisoned this Kool-Aid and started a cult in their own colony, and it's pretty weird, some 70s stuff.
Like mass suicide.
286
Oh, yeah,
people.
he convinced them all to kill themselves
Well,
from drinking Kool-Aid.
we think he did.
Oh,
We
yeah.
just know they all died.
Yeah.
So my generation, when somebody says, oh my God, she's drank the Kool-Aid, that means she's gone to the dark side. She's gone evil. We got to save her. Okay? Some people say, well, you know, he drank the Kool-Aid. He got the new iPod, pad, dingamajigger, whatever it's called now. Therefore, it's a good thing because he's joined a club. So there's difference in nuances in language within an organization. So if you've got different kinds of leaders and you know yourself, okay, and you know others. So right now, how many of you knew that introverts are okay with no feedback? Is that something new? Okay. Have you started to think about how this affects you when you're dating? Because I know you at least are trying to do that while you're here, right? If you don't have jobs, we don't count coaches, and you've only got teachers, and you're trying to go into business, and you've never had a job before, which is interesting. Who in here has had a part-time job? Please raise your hand to make me feel better. Okay, good. So when you go out into the business world, it really, the relationships within the community out there are going to be just like when you're here at Northwest trying to date. You tried to date anybody yet?
Oh, I have a girlfriend.
You have a girlfriend. She an introvert or an extrovert?
She's an introvert.
You sure?
Yeah, she took the Myers-Briggs last night.
Okay, so you better take the test. Good man. There you go. Okay, so what did you learn then? So now you made her take the test. You know she's an introvert. So what should you prepare yourself for? Because you're an extrovert.
No feedback.
Okay. Does she want feedback or not?
No.
Okay. Does she want to go to a party?
No.
Okay. If she does go to the party, does she want to go to the hitching post for breakfast afterwards?
No.
Why not?
She just wants to go to bed.
Why?
She's had her fun, I guess, and she's done.
She's had her fun and she's done. Anybody know why she wants to leave after the party and not go out for breakfast in the morning? With everybody at the party, when she's been the life of the party with you, and you walk outside, and you start walking towards your car, and all of a sudden she's pissed. Did you experience that?
Were you there that night? Or?
Yeah. I mean, you're at the party, my God, and you're having a blast. And she's having a blast, and she's got all kinds of skills, and she's introducing you to people, and people are running up to her, and she's running over to people. But as soon as you leave that party and you're walking toward the car, she is pissed at you. And you immediately ask her what?
What'd I do?
What did I do? And what did she say?
I'll tell you later.
I'll tell you later. That's pretty kind of her. I used to get shut up and just drive me to the dorm.
Hey now.
I'm sorry. She's back there. When she would get in the car, she's in the car, and I'm like, let's go to the hitching post and have breakfast. She's like, take me to the dorm. I'm like, well, time out. What the hell just happened? Inside we were having a blast. Did something from the front door of that house and this car happen? Or did I do something when I was in there? What did I do? Tell me what I did. You didn't do anything. Just take me home. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, you can't let that go. You got to keep asking because you got to solve it, right? You want it fixed. Extroverts want it fixed right now. What did I do? Give me a chance to fix it. By the time you get her to the house, what happens? You've started a fight. And she storms inside. And she's pissed off. And then you don't see her for 3 days. What happens to you for 3 days with no feedback?
I'm spiraling.
You're down here. You're about to jump off the roof of whatever dorm or fraternity you're in because you don't understand what happened. What just happened? Introverts. Why did she want to go back to the dorm after being at the party and having fun?
She wanted to rest
Rest. Why?
because that would be comfortable for her.
Be comfortable because what happened at the party?
She got all her energy out, I guess.
Ah, so she had to expend energy to be at the party. Is that how it is for you? How about you?
It's stressful.
Oh, so going to the party, did you enjoy the party?
Yeah.
But-
Takes out a lot of energy.
So it sucks you dry of energy. So what did you have to do to get ready to go to the party? How'd you get your batteries up? So you know you got to go to a party, and you know you got to perform somewhere up here. How do you get there, and what happens to you when it's over? What do you got to do? That's why you're there, or that's your prep? So you don't say you got to drink, okay? Okay. What do you got to do?
Talk to my friends. My friends have to convince me to go.
Okay, so somebody's got to talk you into it. Okay, into it. What do you got to do?
I gotta relax and mentally prepare myself.
What are the kinds of things you do to mentally prepare yourself? You got anything formal that you do?
Usually kind of like try and come up with things to talk about.
Okay, so you're prepping. I mean, you're like doing homework, getting ready to go. So you're taking notes. Okay, I'm gonna have these 3 talking points while I'm there. Right? Yeah, you guys are laughing, but that's serious. That's serious stuff. What do you got to do?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot because you got those great socks with the sandals. All of the above. What do you have to do afterwards?
What do I have to do afterwards?
Yeah.
I usually sleep.
Okay, so you run to the dorm. Where do you live? You live in a dorm? So you run back to the dorm after the party or drive back. Hopefully you haven't been drinking like her. And you get back and you just go right in your bed, turn off the light and go to bed?
Yeah, usually.
Okay. What if this is not a party? What if this is a test? And the test is you got to get up here and give a 30-minute extemporaneous speech on a topic that would be pulled out of a hat. Ooh. No prep time. You get up there and you give the speech. You knock it out of the park. It was an awesome speech on geothermal energy, because you're prepared to talk about that at the drop of a hat. That's your favorite topic. What are you going to do? What's going to happen to you when you walk out of that classroom?
I mean, I'm probably gonna do a little bit of reflection on it.
Okay, so you can go reflect. Will you go down there by the pond somewhere? Or?
I mean, probably not the pond, probably go back to my dorm.
So you're gonna walk back to your
Go
dorm.
make some food or something.
Okay, so walk, food, reflect. We haven't picked on you yet. What do you got to do after that extemporaneous speech?
Probably go to sleep.
So you can go back and go to sleep. Is that the only thing you're going to do?
Probably.
Okay, so you're going to walk back, skip the reflection time, go straight to bed. What if you got another class?
Go to class then.
You going to sleep in the next class, or what are you going to do?
Try not to.
You're going to try not to. But you got no energy left, right? Okay, so what you guys got to understand is that it takes a tremendous amount of energy for these guys to do something as simple as go to a party, okay? Or to give an extemporaneous speech, or to give a speech in general. Really, pretty much to do anything. You guys have got to start formally figuring out, in order for you to survive in the business world, because just like the example here, so you got a test at 08, you've got a class. God, I can't do this fast. Class at 10, okay, and then you got a luncheon where you got to give another speech at noon, okay, and then you got a fraternity meeting at 1300, okay. Now you can't drink before you do any of this stuff, but after each one of these events, when it drains your batteries, you guys crash. Am I making that up, or is it true? Do you crash? And I'm not talking about going to sleep like him. I'm talking about you just got nothing left. Your body is completely drained. Your mind needs time to regenerate. So if you're going to be in the business world, how can you go through a business day that will look similar to this every single day if you're going to crash at the end of every event? So what you think you're going to do is, well, I'll just work out of my office in front of my laptop with the music playing in the background, and I'll have this white fake cat. I'll take it out and pet it when I'm watching, and I'll be doing numbers, and I'll do that kind of stuff. And I won't talk to anybody, okay? And you won't talk to anybody. You'll be in your office. After every event, you're going to go back to your office. You're going to hide, okay? And at the same meeting, these extroverts, what happens to you? I'm not going to ask you because you are not an extrovert. You can stay there. You know? No, you're awful quiet.
I'm 28% extra.
That's okay. You could be an ambivert. Ambivert's kind of in the middle. So when you get told, walking into this class, surprise, we're going to do a test, and it's an extemporaneous speech, and it's about the New Eastern blowfly. Here is a 2-page piece of paper. You got 5 minutes to prep, and you got to give a 30-minute speech on why we should either kill or enhance the lifestyle of the blowfly. Can you do it?
Yeah.
What happens to you physically?
I'm not really worried about it because I didn't have time to prepare for it.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Nobody else had any prep time.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is suck as much as everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what the heck? You can get up and do it, right?
Yeah.
And so you get up and you start giving the speech, and we start clapping. We start going, wait a minute, I've never seen her before. She's pretty slick. You keep talking, you keep talking. What happens as you keep talking? What's happening to you?
Get more motivated.
You're getting more motivated. Are you getting more power?
Yeah.
More energy?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're telling me is the exact opposite effect happens to you that happens to them. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the party and you're having a blast and you are jazzed, and you get outside and you're doing that walk back to the 1972 Gremlin that you're driving, or whatever the hell it is you're driving these days, and you want to go to the next thing. You want to go to the next party because everybody else is going, and you want your girlfriend to go with you because you want to go with her, right? That's why she's your girlfriend. And she says, shut up, take me home. And you're going, but hey, this is going to be a blast. And she's like, shut up, take me home. Now imagine in the work environment, if he's your boss and he needs a calendar. I bet you have everything scripted for the rest of the semester.
Sure do.
You do, by the minute. He knows when he's got to do something, where he's got to do it, when he's got to start the prep session to start to do the thing that he's going to have to do a week from next week. Okay? Now, would you rather have found out about that extemporaneous speech 3 months ago? That you had to give it today, you had to do all the research and get ready? Or would you rather me surprise you?
I don't know, I'd probably worry about it more if you told me earlier and I'd
So what would happen? So I told you 3 months ago, you're going to give a speech on the New Eastern Blowfly.
well, I mean, I know what I was talking about.
Yeah, you may have. So 3 months out, you got that much time to prep. How's that make you feel?
I'm feeling good.
All right, this is cool. Excellent. Okay? And what do you think?
That's too much time.
That's too much time. You know, what are you going to do for the first whole month about it? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. Okay? And the second month, what are you going to do? Shit, that's still a month out. Nothing. Okay? And then, start getting within about 15 days. Man, that's still a lot of time. I might eventually do something 2 days, maybe. It depends on how experienced you are. Maybe 3. What's that? You did last 2 days? I personally, as an ENFP, I used to give speeches in front of 5,000 people routinely. And my staff knew, don't tell him until about 3 hours beforehand. Because then I would have a blast. It was fun. And I was so excited that I pulled it out of my ass. To me, that was the whole thing about doing it was, holy crap, I just talked to 5,000 people, and those bastards only gave me 3 days, 3 mornings, 3 hours. And I'm so proud of myself. Then I got goosebumps. I'm so excited about having done it. Okay? You make them crazy. You guys make them crazy. Okay? Because you're going to forget to do the calendar for every single thing he's got to know in order to do the job as your boss. Okay? And when you're the boss, you're going to still make him crazy because you're going to blow all that crap off. And he's going to go, but you've got to do this right now. The meeting has to stop. And you go, it's okay. Don't worry about it, Kevin. I got it handled. Till the next guys will just be late. Right? Because you're the boss. You're going to be late, right? How are you going to feel about her being? She's screwing up your timeline, man. Is she the best boss you ever had?
Probably the worst.
Probably the worst. You think you have this wonderful command climate in your organization because you don't pick on him. He does all that stuff. Because then you don't have to do it. Okay? But he hates your guts. Because you don't do all these things. You're supposed to do all of these today. You did 4. How can you possibly be in charge and still have a job and be my boss? Because you didn't do any of this shit. You're supposed to do all this stuff. Okay? He's about to kill himself. And you think he loves you. He loves working for me. I'm so nice to him. I'm so empathetic. I'm so sweet and kind. I had 2 colonels get up and do this a couple months ago. These are 2 female colonels. These are very highly established, credentialed combat veterans. Got up in the room. And I've got the methodical, brilliant, introverted officer who's done incredible things. And she's standing here. She's just as polite and as pleasant. And she's got a great personality, and she has all the extroverted skills. She can get up here and do this. Now, her batteries are draining, but they don't drain as fast because she has skills. Before she got there, she prepped. After she leaves, she knows exactly what she has to do to get back into the next class. She goes for a jog. She goes and she reads something. She listens to music. She does something, but she has methodical things that she's thought through to recharge her batteries. So she knows what to do. The other one, just like you, she's up here, she's winging it. Her whole life has been winging it. And she's just as successful and just as accomplished. And I put them up there and I put them in a scenario where the extrovert failed to tell the introvert about a formation of 800 soldiers standing in the heat out back of their headquarters for an hour and a half while we're trying to find you because it wasn't on the schedule. You screwed up. You didn't put it on the schedule. But you've been out there talking to for an hour and a half having a blast. People are trying to find you. Now, you've got to go out there and you've got to talk extemporaneously to 800 soldiers who've been standing in the heat of Kentucky for an hour and a half. And I put them in that scenario. So I looked at the extrovert being the one that had to go out and do it because she screwed her over. And I said, how are you going to treat her? She said, you know what? I'm going to give her a hug and say, hey, don't worry about it. Stuff happens. We'll work on it in the future. I still love you. You're my best executive officer. Don't worry about it. I go, okay, reverse roles. What are you going to do to her? I'm going to make, can I cuss? I guess I already did. Quote, I'm going to make that bitch cry. Same exact scenario between two different personality types. One of them's okay with it because that's how they operate based on their personality. And the other one is ready to kill her based upon her personality. But they both have skills. You have to learn that these folks over here spend a lot of detailed time doing this kind of stuff because this is how they show their passion. This is how they show their love and dedication for whatever business that you're in. They are giving their heart and soul by drilling down as deep as possible to think of all the nuances and all the variants in your business that they think are important and they think have to come to your attention as the boss in order for the business to be successful. Okay? And at the same time, you got to understand that they believe that the business is going to be successful because they're going to be more collegiate in their approach. If you go to the emotional intelligence personality types, not personality types, but leadership types, these folks tend to be more collegiate. Okay? They may be autocratic. They may say, I know exactly what I want, which will make you crazy. Because they will look at a problem and go, well, this organization only does 3 things. This, and this, done. And you're going to go, wait a minute. The nuances of those 3 things are 1,500 pages long and need to be analyzed and thought through. And we're going to go, okay, go ahead and do that. And then at the end, what's going to happen is I'm going to go, that's great, good job, but we're still only doing these 3 things. Because I believe I need to give a vision that's easy for everybody to understand. It may not be all-inclusive. It may not be well thought out, but we're all going to go in the same direction. So these guys are going to want to lead an organization like that, and it's going to make you crazy. But what's going to happen is both of you have to understand the emotional intelligence of those you lead. And we just talked about one tiny nuance, introvert and extrovert. Okay, I'm going to stop there and see if you got any questions, because I think I went too long.
No, we go. I mean, we have, like you mentioned, advising the president. So is this one of the things you advise one president way different than another based on something like this?
Oh yeah, and especially what country they're from. So when I say 9 presidents, I'm talking about 2 U.S. presidents and the rest were foreign presidents. It's like the president, like Karzai in Afghanistan, for example. Karzai in Afghanistan was a president who was very literate and he spoke decent English, and you could motivate him to do things when you would work on his extroverted personality. So in other words, if you talked about things that triggered his empathy, about the plight of his people and the things that were happening in the villages and the murders and the non-judicial executions for his police force going out and just shooting anybody they wanted, if you played on his emotional intelligence, you could steer his decision-making process. But I've had others that are very introverted and they demand data. They demand video. And so you have to work a little bit harder to get somebody who's more introverted to do what it is that you're trying to get them to do. And sometimes you have to be very coercive. So you have to use a coercive leadership style as opposed to a more autocratic, more collegial approach. So the different leadership styles, if you learn in emotional intelligence, if you read just the one little tiny, teeny book called Leadership and Emotional Intelligence, you'll see the 6 different styles that are in there. And those 6 different styles, he relates them to a golf bag full of golf clubs. And he says, yeah, you can have a different leadership style for every different kind of event. You just have to pull out the right combination of clubs in order to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
What nonverbal things did you see to like figure out where, because he's the only one who's given me his topic for the major presentation. You may be the most introverted person, Brock. I don't know, he's the only person out of both classes that has given me his group presentation topic. But you were like saying, like, I think you belong here and there to other people. What stuff were you picking up on?
Well, these 2 guys, you know, they're pretty introverted. Now, they admitted it to me, so I can't pick up on too many nonverbals. She's got an interesting extroverted capability. She took charge of the group over here and she directed who was gonna be the most introverted person, which is an interesting challenge. Plus she needs to drink heavily to go out, and I admire her. She's been coached, and yeah, we all learned that very quickly, but you can tell she's been coached. But this gentleman right here, this is one of the guys that I always look for in my organizations, and I try to get people like you, which is what I am, to ask him questions because he normally has the solution. We do these things called field leadership reaction courses. And we'll put 3 or 4 telephone poles out there. We'll put a little thing that's a fake creek and a little ramp, and we'll say, okay, the 8 of you try to figure out how to get across this creek using just the stuff that's available. And it happens every single time, no matter how you organize these groups. There will be 3 people that will immediately start talking. We should do this, we should do that, you grab this, you do that, you grab this, and then there's 3 of you that are standing over there and you're kind of watching. And then there's somebody like her, right kind of in the middle, more of an ambivert, who's trying to bridge the divide because he'll sit there and not say anything and all of a sudden he'll go blue. And it's the solution. But the 3 over here talking don't hear him. She'll hear him and say, hey guys, try blue. And they'll go, and they'll keep going. They'll blow her off. And they'll do that 2 or 3 times until finally he and her will gang up and say, it's blue, guys. Or they'll all fall into the creek, and as they're floating away, you'll stand with your hands on your hip and go, told you it was blue. Okay? So what I've learned over time with emotional intelligence is I always want to find him because he's got the solution. But you got to work the group in order to figure out who in your organization is not being heard and why. And is it because you're not providing the environment for them to speak? I mean, you guys are very quiet today because A, you don't know me, B, you don't know each other that well, okay? And there's a camera on.
They're
Okay?
always quiet.
Which makes it very, very difficult to get people to be themselves. All right, what else?
Just out of curiosity, where's your hometown?
Red Oak, Iowa.
I'm from Missouri, so I don't know where that is.
It's straight north there, 62 miles.
Okay.
Straight up 71. There used to be a lot of people from Red Oak down here. All those farm kids. What else? No other questions? You got it all figured out? So who on this side thinks they actually should probably sit on this side? Anybody?
I feel like I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm like an introvert.
What was your percentage of introversion? Or extroversion?
I got 41% extrovert.
Really? That's pretty high. That means that means you have the skills. If you don't feel you're on the right side, but you score that high as an extrovert, that means you have skills.
Yeah, I was bouncing between the two.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like with the party thing, like I need no preparation for a test or anything. Like that doesn't bother me, but when I'm done, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
So I don't know what side I really.
It's interesting because if you don't acknowledge that about yourself, that you need that time afterwards, then you don't plan well. Because what you'll end up doing is you'll put too much stuff on your calendar, and at the end of the day, you realize you've overextended yourself. That's a big part of knowing who you are. When you read the emotional intelligence stuff, it talks about a person who is self-aware. They understand their own personal strengths and weaknesses. They know what kinds of crutches they need to get through the day. Okay, I know that I have to have 2 people like her working for me to keep me on track, to keep me on time, to schedule things on my calendar. Otherwise, I'll be falling around watching blue butterflies fly down the sidewalk. Okay, so I know that's a weakness for me. And a part of my knowing myself is to tell others and not worry about that being a weakness. I have a weakness. I have, I'm in the United States Army and I hate getting up in the morning and I'm rarely on time. Okay? You would think that would be a career ender, wouldn't you? Okay? But I know that about myself, and so I get up at 5 o'clock this morning to be here for 9:35 class. Because I've trained myself. I've learned that skill. Just like you've got to get used to getting up and talking in front of people without going, oh my God, you're going to embarrass me. I mean, how many different things did you say walking up? You spoke more walking up here than you did when you got here. What were the things you said on the way up?
Made a fool of myself.
Tell them so they can hear you.
Made a fool of myself before, I'll do it again.
You're just absolutely sure that if you come up here in front of people, you're going to make a fool out of yourself. Did he make a fool out of himself?
Besides the socks.
That's okay.
I was just picking on him because I'm envious he gets to wear that to class and I had to put on slacks. No, you did a great job. You did a great job. Now, but when you leave this class, you have to have something you're going to do to charge your batteries so you're at peak performance before your next thing, whatever it is. I had a boss who was the Secretary of the Army, the Secretary of the entire United States Army, the senior civilian in charge of 2 million people. The man had been a congressman for 18 years. Okay? Do you think he could speak in public? Would you expect him to have that skill set? What do you think?
Expect it.
You would expect it. Do you think he would be good at it if he ran for office 9 times and won? And now he's in charge of 2 million people? You would think he would be a great communicator, right? Business leader, you know. $585 billion budget, 2 million people in his organization. Got to be able to speak, okay? Probably okay getting up in front of people. What do you think his Myers-Briggs was? He was an INTJ, the absolute deepest you can be introvert. And so when he came into office, we had this big speech in Washington, D.C. he had to give. He had 3 weeks to get ready for that speech, his first act as a Secretary of the Army. I walked in with a speech already written and handed it to him and said, "Sir, everything else we're doing right now is irrelevant. You need to read this speech, tell me what you want. Speech writers are outside. I got all the experts ready to go to tweak it any way you want. We got 3 whole weeks to get ready." What do you think he said?
Only 3 weeks.
What's that?
Only 3 weeks.
It was actually shorter than that. What do you think he said? What would you say?
I'll do it myself.
You want to write your own speech in 3 weeks? Okay, that's pretty gutsy. What would you say? You don't know? Hell, you're the Secretary of the Army. Anything comes out of your mouth, 2 million people are going to do. Sir, you got a speech in 3 weeks. Here you go. What do you think he said?
Shit.
Shit. You said no. 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 So, sir, you got to give the speech. The only person in the world who can give this speech is the Secretary of the Army. It's about the Army. It's to the Army. It's in Washington, D.C. There are millions of people going to watch this. You got to give the speech. And then he said, no. Find somebody else. Man's been a congressman for 18 years. You can't tell me the man can't give a speech in 3 weeks. He said no. And I had to go to the chief of staff of the Army, as a 4-star general, who's another damn introvert, and said, "Sir, the secretary said he's not going to do the speech. He needs you to give the speech." What do you think he said? No. I got a 4-star general and the senior political appointee from the President of the United States both tell me no. Now, do you think that speech is going away? For 3 more days, I wasted my time going back and forth between 2 introverts telling me no. And eventually went to the Secretary of Defense's office, Secretary Gates, who's another INTJ, and said, "Would you give this speech?" He said, "Sure." Because he had a stump speech he'd been giving over and over and over and over and over again. And he said yes. So the Secretary of Defense gave that speech when the Secretary of the Army was supposed to do it. Now, nobody noticed. For the next year, we had a whole year now to get ready for the next year's speech. How many versions, not how many copies, how many versions of that speech do you think I wrote for him in a year? What would be reasonable for you?
20.
20 versions, which means a complete different speech each time. So 20 versions. It's too low. How many do you think? Are you on the right side? You sure?
Yeah.
You're the quietest extrovert I've ever seen. Because I can't say heard. I can just say seen.
Okay, so it's a year, so it's gotta be like 70.
70 something? Okay. 38 versions of the speech. Some of those versions had at least 5 or 6 different variants of the same speech. So 38. How many times do you think we went into the theater and practiced on video? 20? Pretty close. 18. Okay? So the man goes through this process for an entire year, and then you do these things called, in the Army we call them in-progress reviews, which means every week we go in and we give them a status of the speech. You would love that shit. That's so you go in there and give an update. So every single week for 52 weeks we give them an IPR, which basically is not much has changed since last week, but we're doing it again this week. Okay, change the to the, put 2 dots over the I, and we're good to go. And so eventually he goes out and he gives this world-class speech. But just like you, at the most highest levels of the Army, after the speech he's got to give a press conference. He's got to do he had to be on a panel. And then he's got to go to a dinner where he's got to give another speech. Okay? So he gives this speech that last year he said no to. It took an entire year to get him ready for the speech. He gives the speech. What do you think happens to him? He's going to choke. Oh, no, he was awesome. He looks,
I would choke.
I would choke. He was awesome. But I can't let him do this. Can I? He's got to go do a press conference. He can't skip a press conference. He's the Secretary of the Army. But it took him an entire year to do that. Okay, an entire year. So you watch the video. You can watch it. Your YouTube groups, you go watch the video. You see my hands come through the curtains and grab him by the waist in his $10,000 suit and pull him out. As he's waiting, boop, he disappears. And then I take him to the back elevator, which is the service elevator, so he doesn't see any human beings between there and the elevator. We get in the elevator, and a friend of his is in there waiting with a copy of the New York Post, which is like the National Enquirer. And on the way down, they're talking about how screwed up Derek Jeter is, blah, 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 blah. And he's forgetting about the speech, and he's listening to her go, da, 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 da. We get out, we get into his Denali, which is an armored car. We get in there. There is 2 security guards in the front. I get in the seat next to him. I've got the press conference folder in my lap. I look straight ahead. I don't move. And he gets in, and he's reading the paper, and they put in the classical music's playing on the radio. And he sits there for a second, and then all of a sudden he goes, okay, what's next? And I hand him the folder. He reads the entire folder, and then he can go give that press conference. So because I was his subordinate as an extrovert, I needed to know, how do you charge your batteries? I needed to learn that through this process so I could make my boss successful. And so he would take care of me as his subordinate. I knew what he needed. But nobody ever asked you the question. Okay? So for the first time probably in the history of ever, you're getting it at the college level. That you have to tell them what you need. Because it's a need. At the same time, you have got to listen and tell them what you need. No news is not good news for you. Okay? I told that one general, I said, if I murdered a student, imagine the day Dr. Zazinski said no news is good news. And I said, okay, and I shot you dead because you pissed me off during this briefing. And then I sent a text to Dr. Jasinski, said, I just murdered one of your students. Send. How long do I have to wait with that text before it's okay that I murdered you? 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 3 days? If I haven't heard in 3 days, I believe I'm okay, right? Because that's what you told me. No news is good news. There's no investigation. There's no body recovery. There's no police action. Because Dr. Zazinski said no news is good news. What are your other questions? Anything else? Because I think there's people telling you got to leave. Did I? Yes, ma'am.
Why did you choose to kind of dissect introvert versus extrovert?
It's easier than talking sensing and intuitive. Okay, because it would be a different dynamic. What I found is introverts and extroverts, first off, you can be trained to go both ways, but you'll always innately be one or the other. And the more you understand that, the more you can understand yourself. If you don't understand yourself and you think you're going to go into the business world, you will fall flat on your face. Because you'll either make one of them mad or you'll make one of them mad. And what you'll find is it's all mixed together. And if you don't understand that, then you're going to fail. I would offer to you all the great mechanical things that you learn about business are awesome. You got to know them. Okay, but there's one thread that goes across that. And that is, how do you interact with human beings? It is, no kidding, it is not what you know, it's who you know in the business world, the political world, every world, my world. You have to know other people, and you have to build relationships. And if you think everybody is built like you, and you try to treat everybody that way, you will piss off about 50% of everybody you come in contact with. Honest to God. And it took me 34 years to figure it out, so hopefully you figure it out now.
Very good. Were you guys the same color? You were oranges and, or were you golds? Or gold? You're all gold. Okay.
What were you? You were green. Yeah, he's a green.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I'm a true
Yeah.
blue.
Yes,
Just like, oh, I
yes.
hate those guys. All right, thanks.